All right, hello everyone. Guys, it's so good to see all of you here today. We have a pretty interesting topic, and we have a number of great speakers to share about that. So my name is Vitalii Vashchuk. I am head of gaming at a company called EPAM. And today I'm excited to share the stage with a group of really awesome gaming experts. And this is our second executive session. Last year we had another one at GDC together with Stef. And this year we'll explore what's next in gaming. And during the session we will be exploring the role of AI has played in the game development and during the game processes. And in this session, we'll explore some practical use cases. Please give a warm welcome to our speakers today. We will introduce quickly before diving into our talk today. And Stef, let's start with you, and we'll go down the line.
Thank you, Vitalii. My name is Stef. I'm currently at Roblox. I run the engineering team that is responsible for Roblox Studio, the tool that millions of creators use every month to make experiences. In our previous life, I was a Stanford researcher doing machine learning and computer vision. And I was very passionate at Roblox to build our AI assistant. And today, we're going to hear a little bit more about it. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Stef. Haiyan, let's switch to you.
Hey everybody, I'm Haiyan Zhang. I'm General Manager of AI Innovation and Science at Xbox. And our team works across a number of AI initiatives, both with the Xbox platform and inside of games. So recently, last week, we announced and talked about the Copilot for Gaming that we are planning to start rolling out soon and getting folks to try it out. And then I've been working with Xbox in various forms for the last 14 years and just working in sort of gaming spaces and also healthcare and innovation for the last 20 years. So it's great to be here. Yeah.
Thank you. Pierre Paul?
Hi, everyone. My name is Pierre Paul. I am at Unity, where I'm VP of Engineering for AI. So everything that is AI inside of the creation experience and in the runtime experience goes through my organization. I've been here for 13 years. Joined originally, I was one of the 3 devs that did the animation system on Unity. And I joined 13 years ago at that point when we integrated inside of Unity. And yeah, happy to be here to talk about AI and the greatness that it provides.
Awesome. Thank you. And Craig, let's switch to you.
How you doing? Craig Nowell. So I lead global AI go-to-market for Databricks. Been in the data and AI industry for over 15 years. Companies like AWS and Pivotal. If you don't know about Databricks, it's a data and AI company founded by the creators of Spark, with over 12,000 customers globally, including some of the top platform and developers in gaming. Happy to be here. Thanks.
Awesome. And Nivi?
Hi, I'm Nivi Baral, the Chief Technology Officer for 2K. 2K founded in 2005. It's a tech-to-interactive subsidiary. We develop and publish some world-class franchises, some of them NBA 2K, WWE 2K, PGA 2K, Sid Meier's Civilization, Borderlands, and many more. Excited to be here with some incredible, personalities and talent, I guess.
And of course, our audience. So let's switch into questions. So, Stef, let's start with you. So, how has AI transformed the creative and development process in gaming, and what practical strategies have proven successful over the past years?
Great question. Thank you. What we have basically all observed is that AI makes just the creative process a lot faster, the iteration loop tighter. Game development is all about iterating. And also, we have introduced a lot more features lately that trying to basically do the dishes for you. So we have seen that any AI integration, any AI capability that an AI assistant can provide that does bulk operations and does cleans up the code, makes the code more performing, or debugs the code, that is usually very welcome by the creators. And we have found also two very different set of needs: top developers needs, and then people that are basically becoming, game developers as a new approach, as a new endeavor in their life. So they have very different needs. We have found, And so we are trying to serve both, but it's an obvious challenge. And so the focus that we have really pushed is around the integration between the assets and the coding. And until now, those two things were quite separate. You know, in the industry, there's a lot of like tools and services to create 3D models from text, and there's also a lot of stuff for generating code, you know, like Copilot, Cursor, and so on. And we want to combine those two so that actually AI can make interactive objects and interactive experiences. So that has been the challenge. I think MCP, the Model Context Protocol, really helped the community to really integrate code and assets and make them a whole new thing together. And that's basically the strategy we've been pursuing with Roblox Assistant for the last year and a half.
Awesome, thank you. And Pierre, what do you think?
It's interesting because what you found, Stef, is exactly the same conclusion that we came to at Unity, and where AI is really powerful is a bit like you said, it's around productivity. And the thing I'd like to add about productivity is we want people that are creating games to focus on the important part, which is the creative part. That is the part that makes the game different and have its own identity. But there's a lot of the work when you build a game, and I guess you all know that, like a large number of time, I would say 80% of the time, you're spending time on doing stuff that has already been created. You know, first-person controller, inventory system problems that are kind of solved. And I think AI is quite good at doing that and saving time for the devs to actually focus on the right thing, the creative part. So that's around productivity. And the second one, like Stef said, it's around how do you bring new users. Building a game is hard. Whenever you open up, Cocos or Godot or Unity, it's a complicated thing to learn. And we believe that AI Assistant can change that and really make a difference where everyone that has an idea can kind of do it quickly with AI and prototype and actually find the fun in their game.
Awesome. And let's switch to the opposite side of the table. Haiyan, what do you think?
Oh, yeah. I think it's really interesting because it's interesting to see the proliferation and the rapid improvement in general AI tools, things like the new Claude 3.7 Sonnet model, things like, I'm sure lots of folks are using ChatGPT just to like get answers, do some research. And we know that general developer tools like GitHub Copilot, we're seeing improvements in development productivity. So just across all industries on average, it's about 55% coding efficiency improvement for kind of general purpose development. I think what I see as the gap is that there are general purpose AI tools, but to really fit inside a game development workflow, we really need, I think, more people doing customization and integration. Because sometimes I talk with teams and, we're using this general AI tool, but we really need to fit it inside our development workflow to work with our particular assets, our system. And we're missing those integrators, I think. It's a really specialized need.
Awesome, thank you so much. I think some of the questions we thought internal about what could be interesting for you guys, it's about what studios can do, and I will switch to Niv right now. What actionable steps studios can take to integrate AI effectively into the game development workflows, and how it can be better and more effective in our daily work. So Niv, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think I wish I have a framework I can show that here is how you need to do. There is no framework exist so far. If anybody is telling, that's a myth. I think everybody is trying to evaluate and go as the journey. It's very, very fast-paced, as everybody knows about this. But there are certain points I would like to call out that each studio should double-click. First thing is awareness and education. It may sound very philosophical, but trust me, even like deploying an AI model in your Dockers, and then figuring out the all cloud computational cost and everything, just having that governance and understanding that across the studio, I would be on the game. Don't wait for the right time. I think it's important for each of the studio to have that time and educations and set out whether in terms of workshop or calling out, but that's important that everybody should be aware. And then every studio is different. The problems are different, whether it's depending if you're building a AAA games, indie games, or mobile games, your problems are very different than each other. So define why you want to use AI. I can't emphasize enough that how important that is for a holistic overview. And once you define that, start small. off-the-shelf, some simples like, a voice synthesis, or even just creating a Gen AI, just content and explore that. I can't tell you how helpful that can be. So start small and then think about the scale. And while you are doing this, I always call shift left the ethical AI and security and privacy part. That's important because gone are the days when it's just like an approval or something. You have to involve them from the beginning. It's the shift left method has to mindset shift, and every studio needs to adopt that from the beginning. And the most important thing, I would say, feedback loop. This is no other transformation we have seen in our professional career that once you deploy or once you integrate, it's not done. It's actually the starting point. So having a robust feedback tool to tune in the models and really able to see the values, you gotta have that. So I think these are some of the steps that are important for studio execution in my observation.
Awesome, thank you so much. And Craig, I would come maybe more from also technology provider side. You work with so many different customers, and you saw it across, all over the industry. Any points from you?
Yeah, first one, +1 on data governance, right? I mean, that's the first step, and if you haven't done it yet, you'll find out later you should have, right? Also, I mean, depending on the size of the developer, I mean, you could have tens of studios in one. So I think these central platform teams building paved paths on common patterns is super important, and that includes data governance. When Gen AI really hit in 2022, when ChatGPT came around, a lot of people rushed to some of the kind of sexy use cases around, conversational chatbots, customer-facing stuff. But what I'm finding more and more, not just within gaming, but across all industries globally, is there's some real low-hanging fruit here. Like, first off, like text to SQL, democratizing insights around churn analysis and player behavior, kind of platform usage, geography uses. I mean, instead of waiting in line for someone who owns BI or these select few that know SQL, just using conversational AI to do that. It's just super easy. It's always been the promise of all this. How does anybody, regardless of their technology background, get access to these insights and democratize it, right? The second thing, which is actually a little bit of a lesson learned for me, A16Z posted a really good article a couple months back on the 16 insights with generative AI. And one of the insights is around common use cases we're seeing in the industry. And number one was intelligent document processing. So it's not exactly where your mind would go when it goes to generative AI, but like it's incredible at just taking a model and doing some type of query around vast amounts of data, whether structured, semi-structured, unstructured. So if you think about sentiment analysis at scale, you look at chat room toxicity, or even rewarding positive behavior, like all these type of use cases. I mean, the lowest barrier to entry for anybody. I mean, and that's the loop. If you can go and create structure and insights on every type of document type and have just data engineers do that without having to engage in data scientists and app developers and feed that back into this conversational loop, it drives a lot of insights.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Haiyan, what do you see from your side?
Well, I think it's really interesting because I think some of the panelists talked about it. Don't discount the small steps. So just basic sort of AI co-pilot usage, just being able to share prompts, share recipes for how you use just general AI tools is just so valuable because you don't know what you don't know. It's a new type of computer interaction. I have an empty text box. I'm meant to like prompt for something. I don't quite know what the first thing to type is. And I've actually had meetings talking to game studio executives where I just describe how I use AI co-pilots in my day. And that's just, I usually think, well, why would anybody want to hear this? But actually that's like super useful for like, C-suite execs in other companies. So don't discount those small steps. And then the other thing that I found interesting is that, so we have, potential use of general AI co-pilots that can look over documentation and summarize summarize meetings. And then there are also very specific use cases for our industry, for various industries. I was at an event the other night and I ran into somebody who is a CEO of a research firm, and she said, I have these 4 use cases and I don't know if AI is going to support them. So then she listed the 4 use cases and I said, well, I agree. I think what you need somebody to build these use cases for you. So if you are thinking about how AI is going to impact your companies, really write down those specific use cases and seek out folks who are going to help you build those specific use cases, because there's the general use case, and then there's like something very specific for your company that can really bring value.
Awesome, thank you so much, Haiyan. And I think we can move to more like some practical things. So based on the current advancement, how might AI evolve to redefine gaming experiences? So Pierre Paul, maybe let's start with you.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing, and I believe we're just starting to scratch the surface on this one. AI on device, AI at runtime, is something that I think will be very prevalent in the future. And there's things that we traditionally we use algorithmic approach to solve some of the problems that were quite hard. An example I like to use is when you do hand tracking in VR or AR. It's relatively complex to do that with traditional algorithmic, and the results are kind of, I would say, uneven, and there's always surprises. Whereas if you use there's some AI model that you can use today that run on your device with the right latency, and I think this is one of the reasons why you care about having that running on devices, the latency. And that allows to do things like, again, hand tracking becomes very easy to do. And I think this world is exploding right now. If you go on Hugging Face and you see the sheer number of AI models that exist there, being able to pick those models and integrate them inside of your game experience, I'm convinced that this will generate experience that we never thought of, controls that we never thought of, experience where the players really feel alive. And that, I think there's a great opportunity there. That, again, we're just starting. I wouldn't say we have already found the hero feature of AI on device, but there's a lot of very promising things that are happening right now. And if we look just a bit ahead in the future, I believe that neural rendering will be a thing, where today, we generate images, and it takes a couple seconds for the images to be generated. It won't be long before we do that at 30 or 60 FPS, where rendering as a whole will be completely changed by that. And just, if you've seen GDC yesterday, they showed like they kind of hallucinate one frame out of 15 frames for every frame generated. 15 are hallucinated by an AI. I think this is telling that we're already there, and that will really, really disrupt the runtime part of game development.
Awesome, thank you. And Nivi, what do you think? Maybe anything on the emotional, adaptive side?
I think, when Pippa was mentioning, I was thinking about as he mentioned, there is so much potential out there. But one thing is the emotional adaptive game, as you were mentioning, right? Like if you think about everything which is available right now or accessible, there is such a high potential to build a game in a deeper level. Connect with players and with emotions, right? I mean, the kind of insight we will have from facial recognition or speech or the kind of music you are playing or even what you are thinking, how many times you are clicking, are you frustrated when you are playing a game, when you are aggressive, all this information, and the game predicts those things and then match, whether it's, depending on kind of potential you have, it's the matchmaking or other features as it's evolving, it can be really, really powerful. I saw a demo, I think, few weeks back, there was a text integration. Simple thing, right? If you think about it, it's not popping up in your face, but all players are not hardcore gamer. We got to understand that. What it means that when we are focusing on overall players, and there is a really personalized person, rather than going back to tutorial, learning all these modes, and coming back, you just lose the interest out there. But here, you have someone who is basically telling you, go into that mode, do this. It's amazing, that kind of retention we will be able to have that. And if you think about, I'm scared of, let's say, a spider or something, and I'm playing a horror move, and I'm like just getting scared every time I'm screaming. And then the next time somebody's warning me, like, hey, there's something which you are scared of, or my predictability around my behavior. So it can go to a very different level of experience, but that opens up different challenge for us. And we all know in this creative space, the lockdown of the scope, what is good means, what is quality game means, what is perfection means. I think that's going to open up a lot of challenges for, publishers or even for the studios to kind of define the scope. Because everything, you want to do everything. That's the challenge we have to solve in a creative space, that what's going to be good enough for us.
Awesome, thank you so much. I think we're just scratching the surface. For instance, when we think about the AI and we think about AI as a mechanism of fostering developers' creativity or game creativity and experimentation, so it's more about incubating creativity overall. So Haiyan, what do you see right now with Xbox, and what are your thoughts on that matter?
Yeah, it's a really interesting topic. I think, so number one, I think we all know there's a lot of hype around AI. There's a lot of hype, and then there's the reality. And I think sometimes it's hard to distinguish between what's real and what's hypey. I think it's really important to center in on not just technology, not just AI for AI's sake. We need to be initially looking through, hey, how is technology going to create value for our development teams and for our players? So really looking at it through the user lens, what is the user need? Then how is the technology going to support that user need through being dependable, scalable, generalizable? You know, because it's great to build one demo that works in that one instance, but then like, how do you scale it across your team of 100, 200 people? How do you scale it across your million users? And then thirdly, how do we take those two pieces, the user need, the AI technology that's dependable, and then really create great experiences that's accessible to everybody, to the development teams, to the users. So as an example, you know, one of the things that we've been chatting with development teams about is, you know, what are the biggest friction points in your user base and your user retention that we could bring in new technologies to support? And those big friction points are just like Vitalii, so first-time user experience, retaining users. You know, we find a lot of players, they'll play a game. You know, for example, I'll invest, you know, like 12 hours in a game, and then I'll be distracted and I won't come back to it for a month. And then when I come back to it, I'm like, what did I do in the first 12 hours? How do I get back into the game? And so then we saw an opportunity of like, hey, what if the AI just recap for you like what you were doing in the last 12 hours so you can get back into the games more quickly, which then means the developer teams can retain the players, can bring players back, and that technology, so as I said earlier, we're trying to roll something out with Copilot for Gaming that does that on a light level, and eventually, hopefully, development teams will be able to leverage that and just bake that into the games themselves and be able to see that deepening retention as well.
Awesome. And also, Stef, anything from Roblox side you want to add?
Yeah, a couple of things.
And
so,
maybe microphone, yeah.
A couple of things. So the first thing is like we are basically, every time we develop like AI feature, we try to release it both in studio for creators and developers, but also to make it available in experience. And so we, for example, we have technology that can automatically fully rig, you know, body and face an avatar. And so we are making that available also in experience. We released our Cube was announced Monday, and released tomorrow. Our 3D model generator using AI, and so that is also available already in experience and in studio. So we try to make those tools available for game developers so that they can come out with like the new crazy gameplay that nobody thought about. There's going to be, you know, the next big hit. And then from a practical perspective, what we are seeing that I think may be useful for you guys figuring out like what AI tools should I make available to my team. We have found a little bit of a split again between top Roblox studios basically have a license of Cursor, you know, integrate that into VS Code and then link into Roblox Studio. So very high performing developers being more productive so they can make more experiments, they can take risks, try new gameplays. But then we also have like, you know, level designers that don't have that level of sophistication, but they want something really fast and quick and that is convenient. And so we made, you know, Assistant free inside Roblox Studio. So you can just type one line of text and you can generate simple gameplay or like 3D models. And it's just very convenient for people that are, you know, maybe less technical, more artistic, you know, like level designers or technical artists. They can really prototype something really quick. And so I think for studios it's important to you know, cater to both those categories with, you know, sometimes very different tools. But I think that is really boosting quite a bit the productivity and the ability to experiment.
So literal experimentation is becoming a reality faster and faster with less resources and faster time to market. So, for instance, from the field, Haiyan, a question to you, because we talk a lot about AI and AI research. So, from the field of AI research, are there new developments that might introduce new player experiences and developer tools that we have yet to see right now?
Well, so we know that AI research, separately from the games industry, just AI research itself is advancing, is progressing pretty quickly. I think at Microsoft, I work a lot with our research teams. They sit separately from Xbox, but we, collaborate because gaming is also a environment in which AI research, computing research has used to advance the state of the art. There are, new AI models, new architectures coming down the line that we may find very interesting in the games industry. How long that takes to productize might be might be in question, depends on who you ask. So, some of the new models that I'm seeing are world models, human action models, neural rendering, I think Pierre just mentioned. So this new area of world models and human action is that similar to language models. So language models were built on this transformer architecture. You could take similar architecture, and instead of training it on language, you could train it on all the modalities of a video game. So think about the pixels of a video game, the mechanics of a video game, and the neural network could learn the game. Instead of learning text, it could learn the game, and it could learn to simulate the game. It's very early research, and it could learn to simulate the game in terms of simulating the pixels. So pixel for pixel, it can take your controller input, and it can output the pixels on the screen without the intermediate game engine itself. So that's kind of interesting from a technology point of view. And then the question is like, here is a raw piece of research. What tools can we create from that? Because there's still a distance between research and tools and product, right? So you could think about that, hey, if a neural network, an AI model, learned to simulate a game, could you then tap into additional capabilities of AI, such as, hey, we developed a vertical slice. Now we want to introduce a new mechanic, let's say double jumps, into my vertical slice. Instead of going back into the code and spending quite a long time in dev, maybe I just want to try it out. So I could have an AI model of my vertical slice, and I could be like, hey, change some of the mechanics to introduce double jumps and see if that works in that level. And that could be a quick way to prototype some new thinking. So we are, I think, at Xbox and Microsoft, we're very lucky to be working with researchers, getting in early, and then starting to progress how we develop tools, and they can go in many different directions. And if you are interested in reading more about world models, at the end of Feb, we had a publication in Nature magazine that is called the World and Human Action Model. Please take a look at it, and some of the advancements in the technology side of which we're thinking about how to best benefit the games industry.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Haiyan. So I want to switch a bit more about large content platforms. So, and the question will be, Stef, to you. So how is generative AI driving innovation on large content platforms, and what lessons from game development can inform its future impact?
Thank you for the question. So Roblox, we are a true platform, and AI is basically everywhere. I would say the part where it's probably making the biggest impact is around safety. We have put an enormous amount of effort on making the platform safe for everybody and eliminating toxic behavior. And so we have hundreds of ML models that make sure that this is really, really clean and safe. Also, we have features that maybe are less known, like real-time chat translation. So someone in Japan and someone in the United States can play together and talk to each other. These are all things that we are making available, of course, for free. We have AI in analytics, helping people figure out how to make a game more sticky or to monetize better. Of course, the creation part is something that probably is more front and center in the press. We have announced on Monday Cube, our 3D and soon-to-be 4D foundational model for creation of assets that we are open sourcing, both the weights and the inference code. So we would like the community. We want to enable basically the community. We are a true platform, and so we would love to see what you guys create. So that's kind of our approach, and we have this large pool of 85 million daily players, And we want to provide all these services that are ultimately AI-enabled to game developers on day one without any extra cost. And so that's how we are leveraging basically AI at best at Roblox, I would say.
Awesome. Thank you. And congrats with the new launch of the new product. Craig, anything from your side, anything you saw from the clients of Databricks or something that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, first off, let's not all forget about ML, right? So we just published a story with Mo Yang around leveraging ML, like personalization and forecasting models to improve monetization in the marketplace, and I think that still applies greatly on that front of things. In the gaming industry, as I understand, it's all sometimes about the hits and how spiky that is, and then you got to figure out how to smooth out those spikes. And what I'm seeing in tangential industries, especially M&E, is the need to kind of drive further engagement with existing content and further monetize it, right? And a phase zero I'm seeing with all of them is the need to go, create a semantic layer on their search. And, Fox is a good example. If you look at the Fox Sports app, it says powered by Databricks on the search. So we combine traditional search with vector search to create new types of ways of finding and delivering content. And that's not just important for monetizing things when they don't have the Super Bowl or when they don't have the World Cup. But it's also what I'm finding for any type of conversational chatbot that goes B2C is you need that semantic layer. Without that first step of categorizing and labeling and creating those vectors and all that, you can't deliver accurate, price performant, correct experiences out to your end users with the tone you want to deliver for your company, right? So,
awesome. Thank you. Anyone wants to comment? Anyone come with any other comments on this question? All right, let's move on. All right, I have something that we talked a bit during last GDC, and everyone talked about a lot about NPC and NPC characters or dynamic game experiences as a tool for developers mostly. And guys, how do you think this has the potential to enhance player experiences? And Haiyan, maybe let's start with you, and let's talk about a bit more about NPC and dynamic user experiences.
Thanks. Well, I think one thing that's really great about video games is every video game is different. And if you are working on a video game, you're probably thinking, what's something new? What's something differentiated that I can bring to my game versus the other games out there? And then how can I make my mechanics more compelling? How can I have players jump into my game and play it for more because they just love it? And so we've been chatting about NPCs for a few years, and I think having language models drive non-player characters is a technique, is a tool that could be used in some types of video games, and it could drive more player engagement, more player love for a game. I've seen some examples of this. So I know there was a game called Suck Up last year, released on PC, and they had characters. You are a vampire, and then they have characters that are driven by a language model, and you have to convince the characters to let them into their house so you can then just kill everybody in the house. It seemed like a really fun premise, and they went viral on Twitch. So because this is a new kind of performance, right? Like a lot of Twitch streamers found it really fun to pretend to be a vampire, and it just makes for like a really cool Twitch stream. And I think this year we're going to see a few more of these games. I think more on mobile. I've heard of a game called Status that is also leveraging LLMs. So I think this might be a new genre that is emerging. And I think we have to all remember video games. Every video game is trying to push the envelope a little bit. Like Pac-Man was the first game that programmed individual intelligent behaviors for each of the ghosts. Or Doom, one of the first games to introduce online multiplayer and really transform how we think about games and being able to play with other people. So I see the LLM driven NPCs as another tool, another mechanic, and if it makes sense for games, then you should definitely try it out. And then in the back end, obviously, like us, you guys, and other folks are trying to make that more scalable, more reliable, more generalizable, more cost-effective for the folks that do want to use it.
Awesome. And Stefano, anything about NPC from your side?
Yeah, I went to this talk from the developer of Kingdom Come yesterday, it was kind of illuminating to see, it's an action RPG, open world. It's about like 4 by 4 kilometers, and they had like 2,400 NPCs. And we look at the modular blend trees and goal-oriented action planning for those characters, and it was beautiful and scary. Like the complexity of that is pretty phenomenal. But ultimately, it's what really makes the game feel like alive. And so in the future, I see how all this will be done basically by an LLM. There's no need to do a bunch of if-then statement on like real-world behavior. An LLM knows how a guard should behave or a bartender in the game should behave. All that information is already there. And right now, we are basically recoding it from scratch in games for NPCs. And so I imagine something similar to model context protocol will emerge, where like you'll be able to provide an LLM all the actions that a character can do in your games, and then you will tell the LLM, hey, this is a guard, and so the LLM will know the behavior of the guard, will know all the actions that a guard can do or a character can do in your game, and will autonomously behave in a way that makes sense for your game. So I think this is coming. We call it like NPC as a service, because this can be basically provided to developers through like a back-end integration as well in the future. And I think it's going to be a game changer. We're going to see very personalized game, and also a game that you play and it's never the same, right? So it has the beauty of that. So longer life to a game as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Craig, anything?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a dream for any gamer, right? I mean, anybody here that's messed around with ChatGPT, has anybody had a deep conversation with ChatGPT live? Like, I watched Oppenheimer, and I like dove into quantum physics with it for like 2 hours, and got into like the spooky particle theorem and stuff. So the power of it's amazing, but it is the hardest use case I'm facing globally, right? Like, because the blast radius is so high. Like the impact it can have by exposing PII or saying the wrong thing for your brand. I mean, the stakes are super high, and the only thing we're seeing to actually get that to the right tone, price, performance, accuracy, whatever you want to say it, safety, is to break the problem space down. Like, people have tried to just put an LLM, the latest and greatest, in front of a user, but that never gets anywhere close to the level of accuracy needed. So one of our founders, Matei, he posted a paper on compound AI systems out of Berkeley, and that's basically what we're seeing. It's like microservices. You got to break down the space into multiple if-else statements or LLMs and tools where you can hand the model deterministic data through APIs or structured data, and then tune and evaluate constantly. I mean, that is the hardest part, whether you're talking to a bank, a gaming industry, M&E, whatever, is that kind of process of constantly iterating and tuning. For whatever reason with Gen AI, everybody just forgot about training. They just threw these things in front of end users, but we're all kind of going back to the fact that you got to constantly look at these things and tune through prompting and kind of embeddings and selection of models and et cetera. So
awesome. And I think it's a comment about talking to your chat. We mentioned ChatGPT, but talk to some of the copilots for 2 hours about your quantum physics question. That's awesome. But how will humans be driving creativity with AI in the new era?
Yeah, I was talking to Stef about this before the panel. I got a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old, 2 boys, and they're obsessed with gaming, right? And as a dad, I try to meet them where they're at, and I think through gaming is a good way of doing that. And this stuff is not about replacing humans; it's about kind of amplifying their creativity. And you look at some of the newer reasoning models, from the first-party providers, even DeepSeek or Grok or whatever, and like the explainability and the ability to kind of like come up and help drive strategy and storytelling, et cetera, is just amazing, and it really drives curiosity for people. So I'm excited on that front. I'm really excited, and it can maybe a softball over to Stef about Roblox, but I'm really excited about the dream for me as being a dad would be, how do I help create these experiences with them? Have this awesome idea. Like, anybody play Legend of Red Dragon back in the day, like text over modem?
Yeah,
my dream is like recreate that in Roblox. One person, wow. Maybe other people are playing Drug Wars, I don't know. But there you go. Yeah. But it'd be the dream to like create that experience hand in hand with your kids, right, and participate together, and show where curiosity and the 5 whys, all the things we know about product development, where that gets you in life, right? So.
Awesome, thank you. And Pierre Paul, anything from Unity side?
I think it's a challenging one because I think it's our responsibility to make sure that humans are in the loop when AI assists humans, and we need, like, I believe in human creativity more than I believe in AI creativity, and I think that this. I strongly believe that if we make everything automated with an AI, then we lose that creativity part, and that's super important. And then how do we do that? I think we don't know yet exactly what's the approach. I think there's level of controls, when you build a game, you often you'll need to debug your game, you'll need to see how it's made, look at the wiring underneath it. Behavior trees are a visual way to represent how people behave. If this all disappears in favors of LLM, how do you debug it? Like, it behaves like that, I don't get it, why it's like that? How do you reason about that? So I think we need to we need to strike the balance between turbocharging our users with AI and so that they can achieve their creative vision, but we also need to give them the right control. I think at some point, when you're building a game, at some point, the fastest thing to change something in the game is maybe turning a knob, and that's actually faster than writing sentences and talking to an LLM, because then you have absolute control over, how red that thing is or how aggressive this NPC is. So I don't have a clear answer, and I hope we're going to be on the good side of history on that, but I do believe that we need to keep human in the loop, and that is critical for this to succeed, because humans are in the business of being creative.
Okay. Stefano, anything?
Yeah, I want to add, I completely agree, Pierre, with what you said, and I think right now, we have two axes in which I think AI will progress. For creativity, the first one is we are all used to using just text, but if you have to describe like a landscape, of course, an image or even a sketch is going to be a faster way to do it. So we're going to continue that journey into like the multimodal input. If I have like specific character that I want, the image may not be enough. I want to give you like the full 3D model, so there's full consistency for that character, over the levels, and so that's, I would say, one axis. The other one is extracting the artistic intent or the creative intent. Right now, AI doesn't do that really well. It's basically you have the intent and you just give a bunch of commands to AI, and AI tries to do the best at achieving that, and then you're constantly, course correcting that. Instead, we can flip it around where like the prompt engineering is not us doing it, but it's actually AI doing it. AI will figure out, okay, you told me you want like a medieval village. Do you envision that with a castle, right? And so asking me the right questions to develop the idea instead of having us, constantly course correct AI for doing the wrong thing. So I think we will flip that around where AI will be basically more specialized to like extract the artistic and the creative intent from humans, and that way we'll get another generational step ahead in terms of speed of iteration and really getting like the full expression of your artistic intent.
Awesome, thank you so much. And Nivi, anything from your side?
Yeah, I think Stef and Pepe have covered most of the stuff, but I think at the end of the day, it's a tool. We're talking about a tool, right? When it's kind of like when these questions I encounter a lot more than you guys would expect, just because your stuff runs in cloud doesn't mean that you have a solid architecture that can scale. So just because you are using AI, that doesn't mean it's going to just build an amazing game. Either you build a good game or you don't. These are the tools, like as a human, it's going to increase the efficiency in such a significant way, and there is a lot of possibilities. That's what we all are curious about. I think I was telling this someone of my team member that the prompt engineering is actually the new hello world. I still remember that, when I learned HTML and then it was changing from blue to yellow or green, in my early days, my grandfather used to be so excited about that, like, oh, how do you change from blue to yellow? And now, when I'm asking my coworker, how is your day going? They're not responding. They're responding with a Gen AI like, hey, with all the pictures with kids and household and what, this is exciting for everyone. Just with the prompt, they can actually put a visualization to the creative. Like, can you imagine how accessible technology right now? I mean, they don't have to write code and it's just there. What it means that as a human, it's also adds up new complexity of problem, right? As Pepe mentioned that there was a game dev I was talking to, he's like, well, it used to take me 3 days, now it's taking me a minute to write that code, but it's taking 3 days to debug. You gotta choose. You got to choose your, like, what is that you want to invest in and how you want to leverage in, and the kind of complex problem you have to solve to model, like, to optimize this model is going to be really, really hard. So I think humans' role is going to be much more superior to have the balance. And most importantly, I go back to the ethical use of AI and privacy, because that's on us to reduce the bias, to have all the diversity. A machine cannot do it. A tool cannot do it. Humans have to put that investment into that to figure out that balance. I completely agree with Pepe when he says that we are still figuring out, yes. And who is going to figure that out is humans. So I think humans is going to play a really, really critical role.
Awesome. And maybe, Haiyan, any quick comment from your side?
Well, firstly, I'm with Craig. I think we should bring back dial-up modem MUDs and BBSs. I'm waiting for the day. And speaking of MUDs, so a friend of mine last week, he was showing me, he made this project with a MUD where he had multiple language models become like players in a MUD. So you can drop different language models in, and he's in the MUD and he's interacting with this other character that's operated by the language model. And it's interesting because he was like, there are some language models, which shall go unnamed, that are more vicious than others. So there's one language model, he drops it in, and it's like, hi there. And in the background, it's going, stab player, stab player. So I told him he should write an article on like the underlying personality of different language models. But I feel like what this story is really encapsulates is like the ability for AI to like democratize these tools for game making. So this friend of mine, he showed me, he opened up VS Code, and in GitHub Copilot, he was like, well, make for me a project that is a MUD that has language models playing it. And dude, the thing generated the file system, generated all the files, and started writing all the code across multiple files. I had no idea it could do this. So I was really blown away. And he codes as well, so he had to like go in and write some of the code. But it's the fact that these tools are democratizing development coding tools, democratizing 3D asset creation tools, so that more people on the team can get involved and start prototyping, start trying out ideas. I think that's the real unlock for us, right? Like just getting more people involved in game making, getting them to express their ideas, but lowering the barrier to entry, I think is just like the real bringing value to just the world. So I don't know if folks have seen on social media, I think somebody who's been doing some experiments with using Claude to Blender, so just like text prompting for assets, and then using MCP to like control Blender 3D generation. And recently I chatted with a web platform called Rosebud.ai. I urge everybody to go check it out. They're basically allowing folks to go to a web portal to start creating these like simple games. They're not actually like, some folks are like creating games on there and trying to publish, but it's mostly, I feel like there might be a new category of creators that this will engender. Something like, not quite indie, not AA, not AAA, but maybe like citizen game makers where anybody can just like create an experience, and maybe they just share it with 3 people, and maybe that's good.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think I have one question specifically to Nivi. So what 1 or 2 things studios should consider in future in this rapidly evolving AI adoption phase apart from what we all discussed today?
Oh, future. I mean, if I can tell what's...
We can talk about next quarter too.
I mean, no, I said like if I can tell what's the weather is going to be in San Francisco next 1 hour, I think that's going to be win than telling the future. But I think I get the questions around that, the future is definitely kind of like ambiguity is there high. We all have gone through a similar kind of tech transformation in all of our career. This one is different because of the pace, right? I think we all would agree with that. And I would say that, like, I was reading an article where it says that, across the board, there are 25 to 30% companies are in their exploratory state. They're just getting the license, they're figuring out the use case, and just playing around with a bunch of AI tools, right? And then there is a category of 25 to 30%. They have figured out the use case, they have implemented and integrated in their workflows, and they're really figuring out a specific problem to solve. They have a pilot, they know they can demo, and that categories. Then there is a category who are figuring out the scale right now. And only 7% are calling themselves future AI proof ready, which basically is they have the workflows, they have the reiterative that they're thinking that it is a part of their integration. If you all remember, I don't know how many people here remember, early 2004, 2005, every time we used to create an application, doesn't matter which industry you were in, there was to be discussion, on-prem or cloud, cloud or on-prem. We don't talk about that right now, do we? We don't. And I think migrating to cloud was such an achievement that time. Nobody was talking about the cloud agnostic architecture. If the goal was, is your stuff running in Kubernetes? Oh, my stuff runs in Kubernetes, right? Things like that. All I'm saying is that right now, I think we are taking immense pride around AI, like, oh, my game has AI. So what? Okay, so I think the most important thing, you got to understand that it is just the tip of the iceberg. And while the game development specifically takes time, buy versus build decision is going to be really, really critical. All these tools we are consuming for our game development, we have to predict what it means from computational cost, the workflow integrations, and even like across the studio from a productivity perspective. And thinking that out, because guess what? This is not one-time thing. You just don't integrate and it's done. You have to keep investing on the fine-tune the models and other stuff. And by the time you're in third year and you're almost there is another one better than this. What you have good today, and we all saw, I don't want to talk about that, but you all know, right? What happened? Everybody woke up, it's 10 times cheaper, 10 times faster. There's going to be different kind of varieties of options going to come up because this is starting. Do we, right now, we can proudly say, many of us, our architecture, when we think about cloud, we're like, oh, it's cloud agnostic. I don't really care. If it's a cheaper version, I can migrate. Do we have that mindset right now? We don't. We are very focused around integrating AI, which is obviously a great thing, but I think there are certain aspects we have to think through for future that while we're integrating it, it's just the starting. So let's make sure that we have that mindset, and while we were doing it out, we have to keep the ethical use of AI and the balance around that, what it means and why I'm using it is going to make or break that. If 3 years from now, or as Vitalii says, like last year we met, if next year we are gonna all meet here, we can talk that was it really a success, or can I quantify the value, why I use, is it from efficiency, is it from productivity, is it from speed to market? I think that's gonna be key.
Awesome, thank you so much. And I think we are moving to last question, which is, I think it's very interesting. It's more about, for you guys, what's the wish list in 2025 in terms of AI? I think, of course, you mentioned cheaper, faster, better, but what's it exactly? But let's maybe, Haiyan, start with you. So what's your wish list from the AI research perspective and from your point of view?
I have what, MUDs?
It's not Christmas. It's not holiday time yet.
Oh, sorry. So I think I've been saying this a lot, which is the AI research on its own is progressing. We as an industry need to have conversations, need to talk about it. My wish list is for everybody to lean in and talk about how do we build value for players and developers with the AI research that's coming down the pipeline. Otherwise, if we don't talk about it, the research is going to be here, and then folks are going to build tools without us, right? Folks are going to be building things without us. So I'm wishing everybody would lean in and think about building value for us all.
Awesome. Pierre Paul?
I think my answer is going to be maybe a bit weird because of what's written on my business card, but I would say I hope that the conversation becomes less about the hype around AI and more around the value add that it brings. You talked about the productivity enhancement. I wish that would become the conversation where AI then becomes an implementation detail. I don't care if a game is written in C# or in assembly. I don't care. If there's real value, that's the important and that's what I wish. Less of the hype, less of the toys, and more of real value that makes sense for game developers and players.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Craig?
Yeah, I'm going to speak out both sides of my mouth a bit here, but these conversational consumer-facing applications, they're super hard, but they're doable, they're possible. And as I said, it'd be a dream for any gamer to see this implemented more and more within the game. Basically create free guy, right? Now, I think the more y'all can lean in on that and take some calculated risks, and we're working with customers to do that. Also, make security the first kind of foundational principle, right? We've open sourced a framework called the Databricks AI Security Framework. It has 12 components and 62 subcomponents with 64 controls. So it helps all of us look at it and say, what are the unknown unknowns, right? Because all this technology is new, it's ever evolving, and our instincts are not there yet to think around and look around corners of where hackers are going with it and where things can go wrong. So things like that can help us innovate faster but safely.
Awesome, thank you so much. And Nibi, what's your opinion about that?
I'm not going to come up with a new invention, but I think the efficiency is definitely in my brain when I'm thinking about it. In terms of productivity and game development life cycles, I recently learned that we don't call game development at STLC because it's quite different, obvious reason. But I think I hope, and I think wish is the word, that 2 years down the lines or 3 years down the lines, we will react the same way how other industry reacts to the bugs. We should have our testing in efficiency and the development life cycle so efficient that it's just, as to Pepe's point, it's just a part of our process, and we use that from a creativity enhancement rather than just talking about that, we have AI in everything. So I think efficiency is my wish list.
Awesome, thank you so much. And Stef?
I go back to the more accurate, faster and cheaper, which is kind of obvious, but at the same time, I think it's going to enable completely new type of gameplays. And I think that's the part that I'm the most curious. If in your gameplay, you have to, build your own weapon, and it costs 50 cents to run that in the cloud to get your 3D model. Of course, very few people will be able to integrate in the gameplay, but as the cost comes down, then it's going to unlock a lot more of those new creation experience in games, and I think that's the part that I'm super excited, other than, that moment in which I can just put on an EEG helmet and then think about a game and then just have AI make it. But, I talked about this last year, still has not happened yet. I don't know why, but I'm hopeful.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Guys, we have some great news for all of you. We all agreed it's probably very, very hard to find these people on the panel in their super busy schedule, especially during GDC, but we all agreed we'll spend next 15 minutes outside of this room for any question that you may have, and our speakers are ready to answer. I think that's an awesome opportunity for those who are able to make it. So guys, first of all, thank you for coming to the session. Let's give a round of applause.